it definitely, because it feels like it's all through it. Like the tingling, it kind of goes in waves, like they're trying to put things back together.
Are you?
And there's something weird going on with my jaw.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you familiar? There's also been some really interesting flashes and movements in the video as I'm watching you. Are you comfortable still?
Yeah, it doesn't, nothing hurts.
Okay.
It feels very like warm and loving. It feels good.
It's really, really interesting what's going through your body right now. There's some phase shifting going on.
It feels good. It feels kind of weird, but like, I mean, because like things are moving, but I would think I could feel something moving things, and
yeah.
I can't. It's just moving itself. It needs to help her body.
Mm-hmm. And we are on. We did it. Yay. We had some really strange electrical issues going on, and we're doing an impromptu show this evening. Thank you all, friends, for joining us. So I'm Candace Craw-Goldman, and this is Arrington Fraser. Hi, Arrington.
Hi. Nice to be with you today.
Nice to be with you too. Yeah. Arrington is a BQH practitioner who's based in California. Where exactly in California?
I practice in both. I'm in the Bay Area, so like Sunnyvale, San Francisco Bay Area, and then I'm also up in Grass Valley.
Very good. Well, Arrington and I had a session. When was it? Last summer.
Yeah, it was like the fall, early fall, maybe August timeframe.
Gosh,
September.
It was several months ago, but it was an amazing session, and we've been promising each other we would share parts of that session with you all publicly. We have a video of it because it was an online session, and there's some incredible things that happened in this session, and we are so excited to talk to you all about some of this stuff. And when Arrington told me she was going to come to Wichita for business, for another purpose, we thought, well, let's get together when you're done with your meeting and do some of this live here in the studio in Augusta, Kansas. So that's what we're doing here today. So thank you all for joining us. There's Penny, and there's Martha, and there's Debbie, and there's Alba. Hi, Alba. Yes, I'm live on Facebook.
And there's some other people that live in the Bay Area or used to live in the Bay Area too.
Oh, you're noticing some already?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. There's Yaz and Slavika, and thank you so much. There's Cammie.
Mm-hmm.
And hi, Terry Laudermilk. Do you know Terry Laudermilk? That's an old teacher of mine. Oh, cool. So hello, Mr. Laudermilk. I think I will always call you that in my mind. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to talk today about, well, everything. We're going to talk about BQH, and especially the session that we had together, because
it was pretty wild.
It was crazy. And we're going to be showing you some video clips of that. We took notes, so we have exact timestamps where we're going to share the video, share our computer screen here and show parts of this video. So let's just set the scene a little bit first, okay? So first off, it's an online session, and I remember one of the first questions I asked you was, have you done anything like this before? And you told me yes. You'd had other quantum healing sessions, and so I was a little curious as to why you wanted another one. And what was your answer? Do you remember what you said to me?
I remember. I wanted to have a session with you because if I'm going to be a quantum healing practitioner, I want to have a session with someone that I consider the master in the space, the one that's creating this modality in a sense that's really helping bring people together, practitioners and people that want to have sessions, and this being so innovative. And you're an expert, and so the expert in my mind, and so the best way to learn is from someone is from the expert. Like when I learned how to ski, I didn't just ski with my friends that are poking along doing snowplow. I went to my friends that were really good, and I'm like, okay, just let me hang with you. And I learned a lot faster, and I wanted to have that experience to really know what it felt like to be the client and to experience the session, because in order for me to deliver a really good experience for someone else, I need to know what it feels like. I need to know, like, what is it like to be on the other end of that scenario? Because I think it deepens your ability to really give someone that experience. And I knew that coming to you, I'd learn more than I could by reading, you know, by watching videos or reading books, that I would really get that, just, I'd really understand on every level what it was that I wanted to be, like what I'd learn what it was to like experience the things that I was learning logically. And so for me, it's that, you know, having the experiential learning is more important, because when I'm actually in a session, you have to tap into that. You can't be thinking, oh yeah, on page 3 or during this video. You have to have felt it in a sense. I think you bring something like a higher level of kind of a higher level of teaching, or like when you're leading a session, if you've actually been through the experience, you can anticipate.
It's always good if you can have a session if you're going to be a practitioner. Absolutely. One of the things and one of the reasons that we're sharing Arrington's session today is because happily it got videotaped, because it was an online session, because it was crazy. There's some crazy kind of, and crazy is maybe not a great, there's some spectacular, let's use that
unexpected unexpected. I look at the video, I'm like,
I know, what was that? We were just looking at this video, a few parts of it, we were looking through different parts, and I mean, her face is going, she's looking at herself, and it's because her body is doing some really interesting movements. And I don't know, I tell the people who are watching, did that happen in any of your other sessions that you know of?
To some extent, yes, but not to the same, to the same, like, I don't want to say severity, because that sounds negative, but maybe the same intensity, and also the variety. So my jaw had moved before, and so, but otherwise, but my whole body hadn't been involved. And so, and when the jaw had moved before, that was kind of shocking enough. And so the last thing I would expect was, and the funny thing is, you know, having the experience, I don't remember my body moving at all, because at the time I was in a completely different place. And so seeing my body move is kind of like, wow, that happened. Who was moving my body? It literally, there's so much going on and so many different levels during a session. It's just phenomenally amazing. And that was one of the things, like experiencing it, you know, it just opens up your eyes, because you really understand. From the outside looking in, you can see like the body moving, and you can, but being in there and having no idea that my body was moving until you asked me, and then you drew my attention to it, and I was like, oh, like in the session, and I'd answered you like with what was going on. But the way it registers is so different than how you'd like process that in real life, like in our conscious life.
So when Arrington is experiencing what she's experiencing, this session, again, to give a little more clarity, she didn't go to any past lives, she didn't go to another planet. You basically just tapped into the connection you had with your higher aspects and source. Wouldn't you say? I mean, it was from the very beginning, it was just a conversation, a very high level conversation. Right. And so there's no real like storyline or life and death of another being or anything like that. There's just a lot of information that comes forth during that connection. So you ready to show some of these things? Is there anything else you want to tell anyone about the session?
Just that
I'm going to get us a couple waters while you tell everyone that.
Oh no, she's leaving me.
You'll be fine.
You know, it's funny, as I look at the video, one thing to know, like one thing that always surprises me, and as a practitioner, I know that I forget like what people tell me during a session. Like that's why it's so important to have a recording. But also you forget what it felt like. And when you look at the video, you actually remember what that experience was like. And so I think what's interesting is when we have a session, we learn a lot in terms of like what we remember and like teaching in a sense, but there's this energy transfer, I think, that happens at the same time. And especially in this session, seeing my body move, and then with what Candace was asking me, I could really see how the healing was working and how my body was adjusting to this energy. There's a difference between my energy and my subconscious's energy. And so some of the movement was around me being able to connect with my subconscious, and also my subconscious being able to help heal me. And I refer to it as subconscious, but higher self, or
Labels.
you know, yeah, exactly. It's kind of the whole, this aspect that's, you know, there to help us, and that has all the knowledge and loves us, and is really there for us all the time. And we're never alone, and we don't even realize it, you know, in our normal waking life.
Well, Arrington has been so wonderful in sharing what you're getting ready to see. And both information, we have a transcript that we have available and pieces of this video. We've talked for months about putting this together in some sort of way and showing it, but both of us staying so busy, we just haven't. But we thought we'd just kind of do it on the fly here right now. So I'm going to share screen is what I'm going to do, and bring up one of the videos here, or one of the pieces of the video. We're going to share screen.
I'm so glad you're driving this technology, because I cannot talk and do anything technical at the same time. Here we go.
Yep. So sharing the screen. So that's actually the transcript that we pulled up at here. So here you can see this is what we're looking like.
Remind me next time not to do the double chin position.
No,
you know.
we're doing the best we can here. We're ladies of a certain age. I've got the same thing going on here. So here we are. So this is live here. It's a couple seconds behind. Facebook's a couple seconds behind. And here's Arrington right here. So what we have keyed up here is I have written down page 4 of the transcript. With the jaws and fingers. So is that where you have? So so before we play this, why don't you tell everyone who's watching what we're getting ready to see? What were you talking about? What did I ask you? Where were we at this point in the session?
So this is where
July 13th is when it was.
Oh,
do you know that's when I had my session with Dolores? Exactly 10 years to the day.
Really?
July 13th, 2008, and that was July 13th, 2018.
That's amazing.
I love it. Okay.
That's amazing. You know, so, it's like funny these days.
Yeah, I love it. So
so what was interesting about this is I think you were asking me because my jaw started moving, and this was after you'd asked my higher self to come in and help me with some healing. And then you said, can I go ahead and ask you some more questions? While this is happening, you asked my subconscious, and you said yes. And so then you're asking me questions and I'm responding, and then my jaw is going like this. And you asked me like, what's going on? Like, you know, I'm seeing these flashes and colors and lights, and it's interesting that you're able to speak through the movements in your jaw. I think you something like that. Like, what's going on?
How are you talking?
and I said, yeah, I was just kind of feeling it. And it's a little bit hard to talk through. But my jaw's not the only place where I make words. And I kind of get these flashes like, just be quiet and get out of the way so we can finish our work. So the jaw movement was really about bringing the energy in to help my body heal, to do the healing. And for some reason that was the way it was manifesting, because I was lying down and so yeah.
So you guys ready to see this? I mean, so
I really don't have epileptic seizures. It kind of looks like that.
Yeah. So check this out, everyone. This is what's going on. Let us know if you can hear it all right too. It's fine. Just keep me posted on your comfort, because your comfort and your well-being is My greatest concern. Looks like we've shifted into a different form of healing. What's going on now that you could tell me about?
It's really, it's really weird. I have a friend named Annie, and she's a body worker, and I've always thought she was wonderfully gifted. I think the reason I was able to have my 3 children was because of her. And she does trigger point release and this kind of blocking. And it's funny because what I'm feeling is almost like when she used to work on me.
I'm going to pause it because I didn't back it up, I don't think, enough to show the jaws and fingers first, because that's what we were talking about. It started out with the jaws and fingers, and then it went into this thing. So I'm going to back it up back to 41.
Probably like 40,
yeah,
40 maybe, or
yeah. I'm just gonna see where it is, and forgive that not very nice symbol, but that's the way it looked because I take the video off during these sessions so that I don't use up bandwidth. Do invite higher guidance. Okay, I'm just gonna skip it forward a little. 41:35.
I love the way you actually pause when you're talking, because you're probably going, wow, what is happening?
There was a little of that going on for sure. Let's see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There you go. Check out her hands and her jaws.
It is a little hard to talk through it, but it is.
I can't believe I'm able to talk.
My jaw's not in the right normal place to make words. And I kind of get this flashes like, be quiet and kind of get out of the way so we can finish our work.
It's fine. Just keep me posted on your comfort. Because okay, so there we come to the place where we were before, and I know, and I'm watching. That's why I said just let me know everything. Basically, I'm saying let me know everything's okay. Right. And you were very good about reporting back to that, so that we could keep tabs on you, making sure everything was.
That was another thing that was like so nice is, I felt so safe during the entire session.
Oh,
like I really,
that's great.
It's like if I had the wherewithal to think, why is my body moving like that? I actually wasn't even in a place to think that, but you were so reassuring that we're just making sure that you're okay. I'm just touching base, and you'd ask my subconscious. My subconscious is like, I'm fine. We're fine. We're just working on her. You can keep questioning her, she'll just keep moving. And it's just us, helping her body.
Most of the time, that is the answer that we get in these sessions, most of the time. But every once in a while in a session, the healers, the subconscious, the higher self, the healing team, whatever you want to call it, sometimes they'll say, give us a moment or give us some silence. And you know what? I've even had, I'm getting goosebumps. I've had some online sessions where, not many, I think maybe 2 that I can think of offhand, where that's when there was like some sort of blip going on.
Right.
They created the blip or the disconnection so that there could be a period of
working and without interruption.
Without any talk and without any, with nothing going on. And then it comes back on and we're like, well, what was that for? Well, we created that.
We created the space to help,
so
we could do our work.
Yeah, it's always like that. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to come up to this place here, and I love this place. This particular part, I'm going to back up just a little to make sure we don't miss. This is where you say something about the noodle. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I remember her just saying this in the session. This is one of my favorite parts of the session.
And it's just doing it all on its own.
Some real interesting thing now on your left shoulder. My goodness.
Yeah, it's doing these weird pulse things.
Yeah.
I wish I knew why it was doing what it was doing. Is there any way to can I ask?
Yes, I wish you would. I would like for Julie's inner healer or her SC to please come forth now and explain these movements. We would like permission now to have a spokesperson come through to use Julie's voice and tell us what is going on with her body so that we can have an idea of what's happening right now as we are in this session together. Please let the most appropriate, most relevant voice come through as a spokesman for the energies and the healing that are going through Julie's body right now.
And it's actually good because then my subconscious answers that, which
Right.
is really pretty amazing.
Right.
I was like, wow. Okay.
So we're
that makes
gonna let Julie's subconscious answer that. I wanted to say also that might have sounded like a really long, drawn out question with a lot of words, but I remember watching. There was like a settling, there was an aligning, and I was trying to
give my body time to kind of
just get ready for that next voice to come through, because we were asking this question and I could see there was like this transition thing going, and so when you're a practitioner like this, you kind of try to think on your feet and do this kind. And so here's the answer. She said it's fine for us to play this next part.
We're busy concentrating on helping her.
Okay, I just need to make sure that we are keeping her safe and her well-being is at the top of the priority list here. Could you just describe who is doing this? What part of Julie's larger sense of herself or her team, who is performing these movements in this healing?
Her larger self that's connected to source.
Thank you so much. Carry on.
So I think you asked.
It's playing.
Yeah.
There
we are.
Yep.
Like to describe more of what we're doing, but we don't have a point of similarity or context to be able to describe it easily. It's an upgrade and healing on an energy level that's completely undiscovered, unknown, inexplicable on Earth. Chinese medicine with qi might describe it the best currently, but that's just scratching the surface. And so, it looks odd, and we're apologizing for not being able to describe it better. And we're searching for a context or an analogy to describe it. The best analogy really is what happens to a butterfly in its lifetime. It goes from one form to the other. And no one can really explain using earth biology how the cells and the entire organism completely reformats itself. And what we're doing is, Julie's had, we're going to learn about her joints. She's very affected by the contamination on Earth. And we're needing to upgrade her body so that it's not so 3D and it can survive the contamination. And we want her to know that it's not her fault. She's been feeling like it's her fault that she can't get better. She's been doing everything she knows to heal her body because she loves being here. And she loves her kids. She loves John. She loves her puppy. She loves life. And it's not her fault that her body's been having issues. It's outside factors. And we want her to know that we recognize that she has been doing everything that she could possibly do to heal her body. But this was out of her hands. This is to us. And we want to let her know that in her last session, we told her that this was our challenge and we need to figure it out. And we are. We have.
So this is so big for me because I've been getting this from a variety of clients, plus some of my own body challenges, which are different than yours and different than a lot of people's, but a lot of questions. Why? Why am I
Especially
dealing with
when you're
this?
trying so hard to do all the right things
Right.
to take care of your body. And it's like, so I was taking it personally that I was like, I'm not taking good care of myself. What should I be doing
Right.
that I'm not? And it was such a relief to hear that it wasn't my fault. But
Right.
there are things going on that are outside of our control, and we just have to kind of write it out.
Yeah. Even in my own session with Dolores, which was primarily focused on why am I feeling these physical things, you know, a little bit of life purpose stuff, but I was really there to find out why my body was behaving that way. And my higher self just kept saying, it was interesting, because she's different. And I also knew, and I could tell, it was like, I was like a little bit being gagged, meaning it wasn't time to know how and why.
Right.
Why it was different, why it wasn't a past life issue, why it had nothing to do with anything she was doing or not doing. It didn't have anything to do with an emotional state, blah, 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 where a lot of people have
Yes.
those reasons, and they're still
Yes.
very valid. And we talk about those things as practitioners, that there are people out there like you, like me, like some other clients I've had, and it has to do with, it's kind of like this idea of, you know, the expansion and the ascension of humanity and the upgrades of the body, etc. But it's a little different and I think you, and I think I, and a couple clients I've had as well, are dealing with, because it's almost like, do you know what Dolores has called it to me? She's like, Candace, she says, it's like you're a concept car. You know what a concept car is?
I love her analogies.
Right? And she says a concept car is an experiment.
Yeah.
It's also very fickle.
Yeah.
And it's in the shop a lot.
Yeah.
While you figure stuff out.
Yeah.
You are a concept car.
It's like you kind of came into this lifetime trying to do some aggressive things.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's really, between lifetimes, it's really easy to make big plans.
Yeah.
And so being a concept car seems like a great idea.
Right?
And then when you come here, being a concept car can be pretty tough sometimes.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it's like, I totally agree with you that that's a really great analogy. And I think it's a good thing for people to know that certain things we can do to help ourselves, and certain things we do have to tap into our higher conscious and meditate and things, and it's just going to be what it is. And just to do our best.
You bet. I'm going to move it up to the next one, and then have you talk more about this next clip. We're going to set up this next clip. It's the page 7 one. And what's really interesting about this one is I really noticed, I was watching your shoulder very, very specifically right here. If you watch her shoulder, I'm watching this, you know, from online, and I'm thinking nobody could make their shoulder move the way your shoulder was moving there. It's as if somebody is pushing in on a specific spot.
Well, and the funny thing is I was looking at, I mean, my ability to multitask is pretty low. And so for me to talk and move like that, and like the talking is happening completely independently. You can just see this. That's what kind of surprises me, is watching my body do that. And I was like, who was doing that? Because it was certainly not something I was doing, because being able to move my body and talk at the same time, I wouldn't have been able to do it like that. And you can just see how it's independently happening. Several things are independently happening all at the same time.
Yeah, so I'm going to play this clip right here. Do we have it up on the transcript where we are?
Let's see, which one was this one?
No, it's that one. Oh yeah,
Okay.
Humans cut off from.
Okay.
It's the humans cut off part. And you were talking about how important that was, actually.
Yeah.
Right as we were starting the show, it was a point she really wanted to make to everyone who's listening today. Let's see, we'll make sure we find exactly where it is.
This is the one where it cut off. It didn't like it.
Oh, it didn't like it. Cut off from the. Oh, that's right. You had to find it in a. Oh, wait, you spelled subconscious wrong.
Well, no wonder.
There you go.
See, I told you I can't
This
multitask.
live TV, everybody. Live TV. Hi, Jan.
Okay.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Luann. Okay, do we have it?
Yes, I think
All right.
so.
Okay, so here we are. Watch what's going on with her shoulder in this part.
And immunity and the flight or fight energy. And they're also instrumental in the regulation of source or subconscious energy coming from the subconscious through into the human body. And with the stressful environment on the earth as it is today, it's one of the reasons why so many humans are cut off from their subconscious and are in this state of hypnotism, as we call it, where they are not truly awake. They're passing time. And you see it demonstrated by going to work, going home, watching football, drinking, drugs. All of those are manifestations of people that are asleep, that aren't paying attention to what's going on. We are sheep that are being controlled at this time by the negative energies on the earth, the negative factions. What you call negative, it's really just contrast. From our perspective, there's not good or evil, bad, good, holy, evil, those types of things. They don't exist to us. It's a purely contrast. And contrast is important because you can't grow without contrast. So if everything was perfect and wonderful all the time, very little growth would happen and beings would take for granted everything that
That's
they
why
had.
she
And
thinks. So, yeah, that was great. That was a real big point that you wanted to make in sharing the session with everyone. And I think I'm going to stop sharing right now, the screen. We can always go back if we want. But thank you so much for all of that. How has life shifted or changed for you since that happened? And what how is it different, the outcome? How is the outcome different from other sessions that you'd had? Those two things I'd like for you to address, if you would.
Well, what's interesting is, you know, getting kind of back to the health issues. One of the things that came up that I was explaining there was that, like for me to take on this human body, for them to get this spark of me into this human biology and make it work, was tricky. It was very difficult. And that explains a lot of things that in my life in terms of a lot of the anxiety and abandonment that I felt as a child, a lot of the heaviness and claustrophobia, because learning that I haven't had any past lifetimes on earth, I've spent my entire existence connected with source and feeling that constant love. And so coming here and all of a sudden being disconnected for the first time, that explained why the amount of abandonment I've always felt was actually, I mean, I experienced it in my childhood. I chose a childhood where there would be some of that, but I always felt like my experience of that was kind of out of proportion to what actually happened even. So that was very interesting from a health perspective, just really understanding and being able to kind of be here and support like my own biology. That's been a huge learning. So that just that understanding. So that's one big thing. And then also it kind of ties into the why we're here. So why did I come here? Why do people choose to come here? And really, I always have had this philosophy that, you know, sometimes we do choose these harder childhoods or these harder lifetimes, but that really life and the reason we're here is to learn and grow. That if we're not, if the entire universe, if source, like source grows because we grow, and that we're here to grow and expand. And if it was all perfect and happy and we were just sitting around on clouds playing harps, where's the growth? So we have to have that contrast, right? You know? Yeah. And, you know, in between lifetimes, it's hard to realize what the contrast will actually feel like, how difficult it is, and what we've actually signing up for when we're actually experiencing the feelings. I mean, this is the dimension where we experience feelings and negative feelings and we're cut off. It's the toughest dimension. Yeah. And so really kind of understanding that and reconciling that with just my philosophy on life, it's made it easier for me to let go of the things that I can't control. It's made me a better mother, because I understand like why my children are here too, and that they need to have their own contrast and their own growth and I'm just here to help them find their path and their own experiences. So it's been huge in terms of, and kind of getting back to as a practitioner, what's really been helpful for me is, and I brought it up before, but not in the best words, but being able to experience it, because when you're actually conducting a session, you have to get out of your brain and you really have to go into that subconscious place where you're tapping into your own subconscious. Yeah. And I ask myself at the start of the session, I say, you know, please help me do the very best during the session to really help this person connect with their subconscious, to have the learnings and the healings that they need to have. Use me as a vehicle to do that. And you have to kind of let go of all your own ego and expectations for the session. And by doing that, you can ask the best questions to help your client, help the person you're trying to help have the best experience, have the experience that they need to have now. And so again, so that's really how experiencing a session actually allowed me to create this conduit between me, my ego self here, and my self-conscious, my subconscious. And having a session helps you strengthen that connection. Yeah. And then I use that strengthened connection when I'm conducting sessions. So it all fits together.
Very good. Beautiful. I know for me, understanding and doing so many of these sessions for so many years, and knowing that humans have crummy things that happen to them, and if you're a human, you will experience pain and you will experience loss and disappointment. You will. It's part of being here. And doing sessions and watching and assisting people learn about how and why these things happen to us. While it's never pleasant to go through, for example, my mother's death, even as every bit of that is happening right before my eyes, somehow there was a part of me, even there's a part of me that's very sad about it, you know, and the human part is like, no, please, like, you know,
Stay with me.
Yeah.
Don't leave me.
Right.
I want you to be here for me.
There's the bigger part of me that actually is seeing the beauty in all of that. The beauty in the last moments, the beauty in the ending of that physical experience, and the beauty of being able to be right there and hold even a thought that it's beautiful and not horrid, right?
Right.
Not absolutely that, not, please don't go with a lot of making it harder on the person who's leaving or whatever.
Right.
And I'm very grateful for some of that, and for other things that I know that may not even have happened in my life yet, but maybe to come.
Right. Well,
right?
it helped you,
different things.
It helped you support her so she could have that best experience. Because when we come into the world and how we leave the world, those are experiences that we chose that are important for our growth. Yeah. And so the interesting thing is, I noticed just in our culture, I have to remind myself of this, but we all die. And so I have this philosophy that I kind of adopted when my dog died, my first, like, I called him my exposed nerve, but I was holding him when we put him to sleep, and I watched his eyes go glassy, and it was the biggest feeling of abandonment. I like literally went into a panic almost, just like, because he was gone. And after that, I was like, I don't want to ever have a dog again, because I don't want to ever feel that pain.
Yeah.
And then I realized,
Wait a second.
Yeah, and one of my friends said, well, does that mean you wouldn't want to have any of those wonderful memories?
Right.
What about flying with him? What about this? What about that? And I'm like, oh my God, that would be even worse if I never had those. And I was like, you know, I think it's like, I want to be happy, 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 dead. Like lots of happies, but then dead. But I don't want to have the like unhappy, the terminal cancer, hopefully I didn't make those choices. But you know, some people do, because they want to experience. Those experiences are things we can only have here.
Yeah,
and when it comes to evolving our spirit and evolving like the collective, evolving for everyone, those are things that we choose to explore. And so kind of having that perspective makes it a little bit easier to support the people we love.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to see if anybody's got any questions for Julie and her session. It was so astonishing to go through this again with you tonight, Julie. She's an amazing person, this woman. And any of you out in California, in the Bay Area, there's Amber says she's in the middle of the BQH course right now. You had 2 QHHT sessions, but your higher self didn't come through. I think I'll have a different experience with BQH. Actually, did you answer that? Maybe not. The differences. I know that we were talking a little bit about some of the specifics.
Right.
So you'd had some other sessions, and you had done a BQH session. What was different about that?
So you know what's interesting, and I've noticed this because I've had a couple sessions since then, because of course I've practiced with friends. And this whole experience, I know Dolores said you only have one session, but I actually don't agree with that philosophy, because I see it as a peeling the onion. And really, your subconscious will not deal out more than you're able to assimilate now. And so basically you learn something, and then you need to kind of integrate that and assimilate it, not just the energy, as well as kind of reflecting on it. And then you're ready to take the next step. So like literally, if I knew, I mean, like literally this journey for me started just over a year ago. A year ago, if someone told me, you've never had lifetimes here on earth, and you were this energy being, and now you're having this lifetime, and here's your connection with source and this and that, I would have thought they were absolutely crazy. So I've learned some things about me and about why I'm here that I understand now, that makes perfect sense to me now. But if I'd learned that during my first session, I would have freaked out and probably went running the other direction. And my subconscious knew that. So a little bit at a time. So if you don't feel like you're connecting with your subconscious right now, it might be because it's just not quite time yet. Spend some time meditating, spend some time just letting yourself know that you love yourself and to open up that space, and then try again. And what'll happen is it'll evolve. It's part of, for someone that's having trouble connecting with their subconscious, it's just not maybe time yet.
Sure.
But going through the experience is going to get you closer.
Sure. Yeah, well, speaking with somebody who used to work with Dolores, the one session thing, I've mentioned this before in other venues, but when Dolores was first doing this work, she worked with some people for months on end.
That's how she wrote her
Some of her
books.
books were written that way.
Yeah.
By the time I got to her, 2008, 2009, those years, up until her death in 2014, she had such a long waiting list that she, just out of a sense of fairness, said, hey, you people out there, you can only have one session because I have all these other people waiting. And what she found was a great success rate for people having benefit in their lives with one session.
Right.
Well, great, except then
every session does have benefit.
Well, exactly.
I agree with that.
Exactly. But then she started teaching her classes saying, you know, this one session thing, because what, and to be fair, because I watched her expand on this, what she wanted people to go into a session with reverence. You know, it wasn't entertainment.
She didn't want to have session junkies.
Right.
Some people, instead of reflecting on the session and doing the work and letting it percolate, will be like, well, I didn't get the answers. So I'm going to go have another one, another one.
Yeah.
And they're not actually getting that growth and evolution, so that they're not really blossoming and peeling the onion. They're almost using it as a way to not peel the onion.
Exactly. And in a way to go to, well, I didn't get fixed by this session, so I'm going to go to that practitioner and see if that practitioner can fix me.
And no one on the outside fixes.
Exactly.
We fix ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was one question here. Somebody asked, I think it was Corinne, what physical healings did you experience, if any, or improvements in your physical form after the session?
So I have, last year, and one of the reasons why I came to QHHT, I was having serious, I'd almost died. I'd been in the hospital for a week with pneumonia, recovering after they almost lost me because my adrenal glands flatlined. I basically went from being fine and healthy to within 6 hours having a fist-sized pneumonia in my lung, which they were like that. They x-rayed me at the hospital when I got there. And then I kept getting worse and worse, so that was like at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By midnight, the doctor was telling me, you are now septic, pneumonia's throughout your body, and we're losing you. And I was so out of it, I actually think that my subconscious kind of came in at the time and said, she has adrenal fatigue, because I knew I had some adrenal gland problems. I think she needs hydrocortisone. And the doctors were like, well, that would make you much worse if it's not the right thing. But then they finally tried it, and immediately I started, like my temperature went down, I started feeling better.
And your doctors listened.
Yeah. Well, and literally I told them, I was like, well, you said you're going to lose me anyhow, so we might as well try this. And they went off, did a little bit of research, came back. And so, I mean, that really scared me. I mean, I have young kids, and the thought of dying and not being able to raise them and having it happen so quickly was very frightening. So that's why I started doing research, and that's how I came across Dolores. Was here's a place where I can get physical healing when I really can't explain why I'm having these troubles.
Right.
And so since then, by knowing what's going on, and I've been able to start solving the things, because having this, coming to this health crisis was not something that I created overnight. My body had been compensating on a number of levels for years, and then finally it just couldn't anymore. So now I've had to unravel years of taking from my body. You know, I was doing triathlons, all these crazy like endurance events and things, and I was doing what I needed to extract as much as I could from my body. I didn't have this loving relationship with my body. So I've had to change how I relate to my body, and then I've had to undo this damage that I did on multiple levels. And so a year later, I would love to say, oh, I'm fixed on, I'm perfect. But at the
Yeah.
same time, how I wouldn't learn what I needed to learn if it
Right.
happened that fast. And I spent years taking from my body without giving back. And at the same time, I can see and celebrate every single step I've taken to getting better. I understand what I'm doing. I'm consciously trying to love myself and take care of my body, and I'm seeing my body respond. I'm seeing how my subconscious and source helps me. And so by going through this experience like I am, I can really appreciate what's happening.
Sure.
And I can really grow from it. And so I think everything is happening the way it should be. And meanwhile, from a health perspective, I don't have the fear of dying unexpectedly. I've been through a lot of stressful things in between then that would have taxed me. And so, and I see the improvement. So
Yeah.
am I perfectly healthy? Can I eat every food I want to? No. But am I perfectly healthy? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
I haven't solved all my food allergy problems, but you know what? My gut's getting better and I actually can eat walnuts again, just not every day. And so like, so I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, it's like, I just think it's phenomenal and I appreciate the process.
Well, you're simply glowing. I swear. I saw this person walk by. I was back there when you first were coming up towards the studio, and I'm like, well, that must be her because it's like a ball of glowing light walking by the door there. You know, there's one more question here. Corinne is asking about to connect with the higher self, having more sessions to learn how to do that. We were talking before we ever even started the show tonight about how, as an example in QHHT, the idea is to put the higher self, the greater aspect of you back to where it belongs, and then come back to be a normal human.
Right.
And that's not what happened in our BQH session, is it?
No. I think my subconscious lauged at you and said,
Yeah.
just so you know, we're not going away again.
Right. And we don't do that.
I like lectured you.
Because you were talking about the other thing
Yeah.
that happened before. We are not disconnecting. We are staying right here. This is the appropriate thing to do, is to remain connected. And you know, I really haven't said this out there at all, but do you remember how we ended your session? Do you remember how crazily we ended your session? It wasn't even an ending, was it?
That's right.
It just kept going, and I had another appointment. We'd already spent this massive amount of time, and I had this appointment that I thought was far enough ahead in the day that it wouldn't.
Oh, you'd left plenty of time, but then we just ended up taking so long.
Right. And the healing was still going on, and she's still laying there doing this thing, and I'm watching, and I'm going, okay, well, this is great. It was like healing. And then I don't even remember how it happened, but it was like,
you checked in with my subconscious, and I remember you saying, you know, it looks like healing's still going on, and I don't want to interrupt it.
well,
Would it damage her? Would it hurt her if I go? And how would that end? Like, how would you be able to come out on your own? And you asked like a series of, you had this conversation and you negotiated with my subconscious.
Yes.
And my subconscious is like, she's fine.
She's fine.
Yes, let's do this.
Yeah.
We want to get this done. Like, this is a big job.
This is what we're supposed to do, and she needs
Yeah.
this quiet time. And I remember ending it saying, okay, but only if she sends me an email.
Yeah.
But everything's fine.
Yeah.
A little later, because to this day, that's the only time I've ever clicked end on a meeting.
Yeah.
You know, in a online session where the healing is it just was continuing, and I had other places I had to go.
Right. Well, and I think I remember we were trying to reconstruct it after the fact. Like, to understand, like, well, how long was I kind of there? And I think it was like maybe half an hour or 40 minutes.
Wow.
And
That long.
my subconscious just kind of worked, because I remember
We were together
afterwards
2.5
when I woke
hours
up.
as it was. I mean, the
Yeah.
hypnosis part was 2.5 hours, and so that was even.
Yes. Yeah. And so like, and the interesting thing is I remember that, I don't remember exactly what happened during that part, but I remember like when I woke up, like literally I kind of like woke up and I'm ready. I'm like, oh, that felt great. And then you asked me, it's like, so like, how are you? And like, I woke up knowing exactly what had happened, that we'd hung up and that I needed to call you. It was kind of like my subconscious was like, okay, now don't forget.
Now you did that.
And plus you reminded me too. But I woke up, I basically came back kind of like just gradually. It was almost like when you wake up on a Sunday morning, you had a really blissful night's sleep,
Yeah.
and you just kind of wake up and you get like more and more with it, like kind of like more, but you're leaving that dream state behind, and you don't quite want to leave it. You know, you get to do it in this nice slow fashion, and it was just like that. And then I had wonderful energy and
Beautiful.
felt wonderful the rest of the day.
Beautiful. Well, that's great. Well, this may be a great time to end it too. So.